So I thought that I would do like a collective vlog of the last couple weeks of April. I have been spending all of my time in the garden, like every free moment I have working on the garden. I have a front garden, a patio garden, and then the housing community that I live in, we have a community garden. And so I have a pretty extensive garden back there. And everything is just starting to sprout and come up, and I'm starting to figure out where plants have moved because of the help of birds. Right now, though, I am going to do an experiment, and hopefully if it works, I will share more. If it doesn't work, then this is the last time you'll hear about this. But I have heard a lot of people that are able to grow roses from rose cuttings, as long as the rose cutting is good and healthy. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm pulling out the rose petals and I'm separating them to dry. I have an expo coming up. It's the first one of the year that I'm going to be doing. And so I thought it'd be really nice to have these roses in some of the spill kits that I sell, and go ahead and just like share that. So I was thinking about like making some spill bottles about self-love, and these roses are really beautiful. They have that pink and that yellow and white in there, which is perfect for self-love. So yeah, so I'm getting all these ready and dried, and I've realized something with some of the witch casket boxes that I have, that because they're cardboard and I can easily stack them and they block out all sunlight, I can use them to dry some of these flower petals in, and it works really beautifully. And all I do is I have them stacked in a corner of my witch room, and every day I go over and I shake them up. Kind of have little fun shaking things. So let me show you from some of the earlier flowers from this bundle started to kind of wilt. You know how that is. Some of the flowers wilt, some of them stay longer. And so in this dish that I have here on my altar are some of those flowers, and you can see how they've really maintained that color because I'm using these cardboard boxes. And so these are the stems that I have, and some of them, as you can see, are kind of gray and not looking pretty good, but other parts of them down here, it is green and there's still growth. So I'm cutting here. I'm gonna see if this works. I watched probably a million different YouTube videos on different ways of doing this, and I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm just in experimental mode, and my thought is, if normally I throw them away, so what's the harm in trying to see? Actually, I don't always throw away the rose stems. If they have really good thorns, I use them for certain magics, but maybe that's for another video. Okay, so here's what I have from that bundle. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this dirt. I love dirt. I'm sorry for the close-up if that bothers you, but I was like, look at the dirt. It's spring. Okay, so here is my little pot, and this one I am going to put the shorter ones in. And the theory is that new growth begins the root work. And I have these little miniature like greenhouses that go on it. And then the other ones I'm going to leave without the little greenhouse because I have this greenhouse, and I'm gonna try it this way, where it's just in my standard seed starter greenhouse, and then this additional little cap on the lid or on the pot. So I'm gonna see what happens. Experimental time. So much gardening is experimental. These are my other seeds that I have started earlier. A lot of tomatoes and peppers. In Minnesota, you have to start peppers like darn near in February to get them going. Okay, so here's my garden, and as you can see, I still have things wrapped. Nothing has been cleaned up yet. This is my first day out here, but some things were already starting to grow. I have mullein growing right here. There's some other things. I'll be careful not to step on things that I don't want. I'm not sure right now. I have a map inside that tells me where's where I planted things. So, oh, look at the lovage is already starting to come up. Oh, that's exciting. Okay. And then Let's see, what else can I find? This is my lemongrass. Sometimes it reseeds and comes up, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not seeing any green in there, but it's still early, so I'm going to give that some time. This is supposed to be a hybrid hibiscus that the greenhouse said would survive just fine, and I'm now questioning, maybe I should have covered it. Okay. Over here, though, I have my yarrows growing. I can trust on that every single year, and it's so beautifully green. I'm really happy this year with the yarrow coming up. Some more of my lemongrass. I don't think that's lemongrass green. It looks like dandelion greens, which I always leave so that the bumblebees that come up have something to get pollen from. And then, let's see, this is my wormwood. Looks like something else got put there with the birds. And then under last year's corn stalks, I put my mugwort. That is kind of one of the most important plants for me because I use so much of it in my witchcraft. So I'm going to keep it covered right now, though, because we're still having frost at night. And then, yeah, certain things are growing. I'm sure in the next week or two, more will reveal itself. So yeah, and then over here is where last year's corn, and these mound-looking things is where I put my peppers and like zucchini and different things. But look at that sky. I kind of went quick, so I'm gonna slow-mo it just to take it in. I love those clouds. It's so pretty. None of the trees are even like saying it's spring yet, but yeah. Okay, so I need to start on my patio. So here I am on day 1. These are things that can handle below 40 degrees. Some things are starting to come back. I planted my canna lilies this morning, and you see the bell peppers that I put in there, which keep the squirrels from digging them up and out. There's my lilac bush. What are you looking at? I don't know what you're looking at. The things? What's fascinating about that spot? Is there something right there? Oh, it's a bumblebee. Are you just hatching for the spring? Yeah. Jack will leave you alone. And now for something completely different. So I have been participating in the hands-off protests that are going on across the country. I don't know if it's really protests because they're so peaceful. It's just rallies. We're just gathering together and not feeling alone. Just because it was 77 million does not mean that's the whole of the country, when the whole of the country I think is like 300 million. It's not that I'm against the fact that our 47th president was elected in. I mean, free choice, freedom of speech, free elections, etc. Of course I support that. What I don't support is what he is doing with violating the Constitution and different laws. This is part of my life, and so my YouTube is part of my life. I don't want to go into politics too much, but here's my sign. And you can see, of course, I am going to work witchcraft into this. And I love this quote because the witch trials were not about witches. It was about fear-mongering. It was about otherization. There are so many things that the witch trials were about, the least of it being about witches. And so I feel that the Fight the Oligarchy really works into it because that's what we're going against. The people that want to hoard wisdom, hoard money, hoard resources, point fingers, otherize, divide, all of that. So that is my sign. Okay, so back to my garden. So this is now 2 weeks in, and you can see things are kind of progressing. I've put in a rose bush. We're not having the freezes at night. My rhubarb is coming up. My blackberries are looking really good. The clematis is coming up. Let's see. And let me just show you the other side of my patio, which I've been working on. I have all fresh mulch in, and it's looking pretty nice. My gooseberry bush is going. I've been trying to train it upwards rather than turning it into just a bush. And then I haven't even started on my seeds. I'm a really bad gardener. I should have already gotten started on my tomatoes and other things, but I feel it's gonna be okay. Let me just sit down and just show you my view of my garden. It's about 70 degrees today. It's like the first really warm day. My lime tree is loving it. It's doubled in size since last year, and so I'm hoping this year to get little bits of fruit on it. My glads are in that big round pot that you see, and I'm just looking forward to watching everything come up in the next coming weeks. It happens really fast here. So it is Wednesday, and I'm getting ready to do this week's page. So we are now in, I think, weekend 3 of this little vlog, and I just got back from Minneapolis, 12 Vultures. I went ahead and brought home a new friend to help me with some crossroad work. So this is a European roe deer, so R-O-E, deer, and it is the doe. And this one just spoke to me, and it reminded me of this moment that I had with a deer that was in my garden, stood there and just stared at me, and we spent probably 5 minutes just looking at each other, and then she just walked away. And moments like that have stayed with me. And when I walked in the store and I saw this deer head, I was just like, okay, I think that you're going to work with me on the crossroads. And so she came home with me, and she's sitting up here above my altar with some of my other collections that I focus on with crossroad work. And I just thought I would introduce my new friend, which will probably never be on camera again. But we're just like getting used to each other's energy. And so I'm just so psyched to have her. Okay, so back into my garden. So today things are progressing. The clematis is growing, the lilac is growing, there is one of my raspberry climbers going, the rose bush is looking good. I went ahead, the canna lily is starting to sprout up. I got it's like a fake citrus plant that grows huge and it smells citrusy. I brought out some of my indoor plants. One of my wee ash trees are growing. There is the gooseberry back there looking beautiful, and you can see that it is happily working its way up those guides. This is my chive, so it's growing nice. And my rhubarb, my lilies, and there's nothing in those 2 blue pots. And then, as I was saying in other videos, I always wait for the dandelions to know when is the prime moment to garden, and there's the dandelions. And then here is my garden now. I found some old wood that I am repurposing as a pathway, and that way my garden has a little bit more shape and makes more sense. So there is the wormwood. It looks like lavender's mixed in there, so I'm going to try to divide that. There is my mugwort. I got my St. John wort in there. That is my hyssop. I just don't have a tag right there. And then let's see what else is over here. I have my valerian seeds in. And over here I've been working on my corn. I leave last year's stock, that's the bottom part, because of the root system, so that it doesn't wash away. Just a trick that I learned. And then I'm preparing for blue corn, and the squash is going to come in, tomatoes are going to go in, the bell peppers are going to go in. And then over here is my witch's garden. So I have 2 large plots because most of this stuff I use in my expos in addition to any kind. So I do work as a witch, and so on call people will ask me for spells or whatnot, and I generally use things that are grown in the area. I usually do it for cost, which is something my partner is saying I should probably stop doing that, but yeah, whatever my heart says. And then I also fill up my witch's cabinet. So this is just so joyful for me to have this. That funnel's coming up. I have some chamomile somehow next to it, so I need to move that. And then let me see, what else do I have? Oh, let me share. I'm trying not to get my neighbors in here, so we walk backwards awkwardly. Okay, so this is my bramble bush that I collected out of the woods, a little teeny sapling, and it is now this huge thing, and I'm trying to control it upwards rather than it coming out because it's really sharp and there's lots of kids in the area, so I don't want them to get scratched because the needles can irritate you when you get them in your skin. But they are growing nice. Oh, and I have some mullein. I need to move that. I try to maintain the mullein that grows wild into one area that I then harvest in the autumn, but also because the birds and the bees and all of the pollinators, they really love the mullein around here. So I'm trying to think of what else to share. Anyways, yeah, so it's coming along. It looks better than it did 2 weeks ago. At least to me it does. I don't know if it shows on camera. But I'm not going to be doing any gardening today because we have rain coming. I love those clouds. We do have tornadic thunderstorms coming tonight. At least the warning is for it. So I'm going to be going indoors now. And I am going to work on my patio. I did want to show that I took some of my raspberry bush and turned it into an archway, of which my partner, she's like, okay, it looks like the entrance to a witch because of the thorns, like vine and thorn. She's like, okay. I did collect some of the dandelion roots that were growing where they were going to take over some of the plants, so I'm going to dry those up and use the roots in some of my spellcraft. And I don't know if I talked about my score that I found at Aldi. This greenhouse was there for $29, and I've always wanted one, but they were always just out of my range. Like I could choose to buy that or buy more seeds, you know? And so I was so happy to get this. And I just put a couple stones on the bottom for like a floor. It's just kind of whatever. There are some spiders that are already coming in over here, so I'm gonna have to figure out something different. I love that they're putting their webs on the spider killer bottle. But I now have all of my seeds going. They've only been in here for a week, and so they probably are opening up. They just haven't sprouted up in the soil yet. But this greenhouse is working beautifully to keep things moist. And yeah, so all my peppers, my tomatoes, my nepicallet. I'm gonna try and grow this in here. I don't know if that's gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna try it out in the garden too. And then the moisture is just beautiful. I haven't done anything here yet or down there. I have no idea what's growing down there. But then all of my peppers, I love peppers. I use them in my food. I use them in my witchcraft. Peppers everywhere. But yeah, okay. I'll look at the water. You can see it kind of dripping there. Okay, let me see. So that is kind of where I'm at. The other one over there, oh, let's go look at the roses. Okay, so my laurel is doing well. That is elephant ear that's coming up, and zucchini and tomatoes. These are, so here's the zucchini. And you can see the little seed is still on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and help it off. Just pinch it. Yeah, look at that. Welcome to the world. And then some more beef eaters. I think I should have labeled them, but I know they're all tomatoes. And then back here, I added some more. I added some more rose stems back there to see if I can get them going, and they're still green. And these, I don't know if I'm gonna be getting roses out of this. They're all turning black. The new growth looks like it's just starting to turn black also. I'm not seeing any change in the root system, but then I don't really know what I'm looking for right now. So I'm gonna leave them in here, and these that are in the additional one have just completely turned black. So I'm assuming they are not doing well. I don't know what other YouTubers are doing. I did come back and add cinnamon at the root, which is supposed to like help the root growth. But yeah, I don't think it's going. But the tomatoes and the zucchini are going. So if you do see anything else about those roses in the future, then score, they did do something. If not, this is the last you're gonna see of them. Okay, so there is my simple life of just being spring happy with garden and just kind of a peek into my life. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes, and hopefully you're having a beautiful day or night wherever you are. And as always, happy witching.